Hey, Algebra 2. So this week we're going to learn about the following. So we're going to learn how to write our slope-intercept equation based upon a graph. We've practiced that just a little bit. We're going to find the slope of a line given 2 points, and we're going to rate using point-slope form, which is used with slope-intercept form. And finally, we're going to rate equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so this is what we're going to accomplish this video and carry out throughout the week. All right, so just some reminders for this week. We got a quiz due by midnight Monday, so you have all of this weekend, and then Monday day as well. I'll remind you if you haven't done your quiz by Monday, I'll remind you during your anchor day, and you have that whole day to do it by midnight. Okay, it's going to be on a Google form. E-portfolios as well. Make sure you have updated at least 5 items in your e-portfolio. If you can have more than 5, the better. Okay. What I've been doing is I've been giving kids who have had more than 5 items, done their e-portfolios very well. I've rewarded them obviously on their grade and as well as their growth mindset grade as well. Okay. So just these 2 reminders for this week. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is to write this equation in slope-intercept form. So I've got my graph. I'm about to put this in slope-intercept form. So just as a reminder, again, this is something we've done in class. You also have a quiz on this, so this might serve as a review as well, just in case you haven't done the quiz. But we're going to try to put this graph into slope-intercept form, and we're going to start with our starting points. Remember what we've got here. This is our y-intercept. We're going to start with our y-intercept. And this is our slope. M is our slope. Okay, so we're going to start with our y-intercept, our starting point. Our starting point in this case, we're going to go out to our y-axis. Where does it hit the y-axis? In this case, it's at 0, 2. Okay, our y-intercept is at 0, 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start to write this equation. So y is equal to, well, we don't know the slope yet, but I do know it's going to be added by 2, okay? So we've got our starting points, and now we need our slope. Remember what slope is? Our slope is simply just rise over run, okay? And all you need to do is pick 2 nice points, okay? So for example, let's pick, obviously, our y-intercept, let's pick that. And let's pick our, in this case, this actually serves as our x-intercept, but it also is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 0, okay? So we've picked 0, 2, and 5, 0. And all we're gonna do is we've picked our 2 nice round points, our nice wholesome points, and we're just gonna do rise and run now, okay? It doesn't matter whether you start here or here, I'm just simply gonna do rise and run. Let's go from here. Again, I'm actually going down 1 point, 2 points. So I'm going down, that means negative 2. And I'm actually going right, that's going to be positive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going right 5 points. Okay? So our rise in this case, again, I'm going down. That's going to end up being negative 2. And then our run is simply just 5. Okay, so this is our slope. We're ready to go. We had our starting point. Our slope is ready to go as well. That is negative 2 over 5 x plus 2. So this equation serves as a representation of our graph right here. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to find the slope of a line given 2 points. Okay. So I've shown you 2 examples. I'm going to do each. We have example A, where again we have those 2 points. We're going to find the slope of these 2 points. And then in example B, we've got a line, and again we need to pick up 2 points to figure out what its slope is. Okay. So you guys being Algebra 2 kids, you should remember a formula that your geometry teacher taught you last year, and that is your slope formula. Okay. So if I give you 2 points, again, any 2 points, you can figure out the slope between these 2 points, or of that line, using this formula. Okay, that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? So again, all I need is that formula, and all I need is to plug those numbers in and find my slope of any of those 2 points being presented to me. So in this first one, I've got a line that goes through this point and this point, okay? I'm eventually going to use this formula, okay? So that formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? What this is telling you is the change in y, so that the rise, and the change in x, the run, okay? Now, to represent this, what I would encourage everyone to do is to go ahead and label your points first. Okay, that's x1. Again, your points go from x to y. So let's treat this as our first coordinate, x1, y1. And this would be x2 and y2, okay? Well, if I have these represented, all I have to do is plug these numbers in, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is, again, what is my y2? My y2s will represent as 2, y2 minus y1. So that's a minus a negative 2, okay? And then I have my x2 minus x1, negative 1 minus 3. Okay, let me get rid of these actually, you don't really need those. Okay? Alright. So, I've got 2 minus a negative 2. Well, 2 minus a negative 2, that's going to turn positive. So that's actually 2 plus 2. And I have negative 1 minus 3. Okay? So this is going to turn out to be, well, this is turns out to be 4 over negative 1 minus a negative 3 is a negative 4. Okay, so that's 4 divided by negative 4. 4 divided by negative 4 is simply just a negative 1. So this has a slope of a negative 1. Okay, so that's your answer for your first one. Okay, so for your second one, you're going to go ahead and pick out 2 points. Again, I've given you a line. You need to pick out 2 wholesome points, right? 2 round points. So again, this line's not perfect, but I'm going to pick this point, okay? That point is represented by 1, 2. So that point is 1 and 2. And I'm going to go ahead and pick, let's pick this point right here. This should do it. Okay? That point right there is negative 1, negative 1. Okay? So I've picked out my 2 points. My 2 points were the following. They were negative 1 and negative 1. And they were 1 and 2. Okay? Again, I want to find the slope of this line. So you can easily do rise and run, but you can also use this formula that you're being taught right now. And again, I have x1, y1, x2, and y2. Okay? So let's go ahead and plug these into our formula. That is y2 minus y1. So y2, that's 2, minus a negative 1. Okay? I've got x2 minus x1, 1 minus a negative 1. Okay? So this is going to turn out to be negative and negative, that's plus. So that's 2 plus 1 actually. Negative and negative once more, that's going to be a plus sign. Okay? So 2 plus 1, which is 3. And then 1 plus 1, which is 2. So this has a slope of 3, 2. And now you could have easily done rise and run. That's rise, 1, 2, 3, and then run 1, 2. So negative, in this case, this is a positive 3 over 2. So your slope is 3 over 2. All right, so in this next exercise, I'm going to go over slope-intercept form versus point-slope form. Okay, and I'll note down the difference between the two. They're just different ways of saying the same thing, saying the same equation, okay? So in this exercise, I'm going to use this point and this point for both our methods, okay? These are both methods. Again, I'm going to put one in slope-intercept form, and I'm going to put one in point-slope form, but we'll still end up with the same answer on each side, okay? So our points are are -2 and -3, and 0.2 and 5, okay? Remember what slope-intercept form is? That is y is equal to mx plus b, and point slope form is simply y minus y1 is equal to mx minus x1, okay? This is where our point's gonna go, and obviously that is our slope. Again, this will be our slope, and eventually we're gonna put our points for x and y, okay? But first, we need to figure out our slope, right? Let's figure out our slope using these 2 points. Let's call this x1, y1, x2, and y2. Remember, it's y2 minus y1, so 5 minus a -3. That turns out to be a +3, so we're actually going to have 5 plus 3. Okay, and that's x2 minus x1, that's 2 minus a -2. That would be 2 plus 2 in this case. This turns out to be 8 over 4. So we have a slope of 2 that we're dealing with. So again, we're going to use the same exact slope. There's just different ways of writing 2 different equations, okay? Our point. Now, we need a point. We have our slope, we need a point. Doesn't matter whether you pick this one or you pick this one, does not matter. You'll end up getting the same exact answer. Let's just choose the one that's, has positive numbers, a bit easier to work with. So let's choose this guy right here, okay? So that's our points that we're gonna end up using. 2, 5, and we're gonna end up using 2, 5 here, okay? So let's work on this example first, okay? We got our slope, we need to put our point, and eventually we'll get the equation of these characteristics, or in this case, this line, okay, using those 2 points. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in, well, y, remember, this is our x, this is our y, we have our slope right here, this is our m. So I'm going to plug everything kind of back in. Remember, y is 5, so I'm going to plug in 5 here, is equal to m, which is 2, x, which is 2 once more, plus b, well, we don't know our b yet. That's what we're about to find out, okay? So this ends up being 5, of course. This ends up being 4 plus b, okay? To find what our y-intercept is, or our b in this case, minus 4, we end up getting 1 is equal to b. So that's awesome, right? We had our slope, right? We had our slope, now we found our y-intercept. So guess what? Our equation, right? What our equation should be would be it's y is equal to our slope of 2, x plus, and then what we got for our y-intercept, which is 1. Okay, so that's our equation. Now we should get the exact same thing on this side, okay? There's just 2 different ways of going about it. So again, I got my slope, I got my 2 points. Let's go ahead and put those in. Again, I'm going to keep this as y. So y minus y1. Again, this is our y here. This is our x. So our y is 5 is equal to m, which is what? 2. Okay. Okay. Our x, that stays as x, minus x1, which is simply just 2 in this case. Okay. So all I did was plug in our slope and the point that we're dealing with for y1 and x1. Okay. Now we just need to simplify just a bit more. I'm going to use my distributive property right here. Okay. Let's go ahead and simplify just a bit more. That's y minus 5. 2 times x is just simply just 2x. 2 times -2 is simply just -4. Okay. I need y by itself, so I'm going to add 5 to this side, add 5 to this side. I eventually get y is equal to, well, that's just 2x, negative 4 plus 5 is plus 1. So we end up getting the same exact thing on each side. One method using y minus y1 or point slope form, and then one method using slope intercept form. You should know both by the end of this week. All right, so we're gonna end it with parallel versus perpendicular lines. And what you should know about parallel lines, again, a little bit of a review from last year. Parallel lines have the same slope. So things that are parallel, they never intersect. So these would be, these would be a quick example of parallel lines. These two red lines have got the same slope, right? They're parallel to each other, so they'll never intersect. Okay, so for this exercise, we would just want to clarify, okay, what's the slope parallel to this line and this line, and eventually we want to think about perpendicular as well, okay? So as far as parallel goes, again, if they have the same slope, well, what's the same slope as y is equal to negative 2x plus 3? Well, I've got a slope of negative 2 here. Something parallel to this would have a slope of negative 2 as well, okay? Same idea, find the slope parallel to this equation. Well, again, I just need to figure out what's the slope I'm actually dealing with. And the slope parallel to that would be the exact same slope. Okay? So those are your two answers here. To find something perpendicular, you gotta go through two steps. You gotta remember opposite and reciprocal. Okay? So these two things you gotta remember. And an example of this would be, well, if I have a line going this way, okay, a line perpendicular to it would be a line that goes through it that makes 90 degrees. So that makes 90 degrees. That would be a line that's perpendicular, let's say, to line L. So line L and line M are perpendicular lines, okay? And how you want to do that is you want to find the opposite reciprocal of this slope right here. So the slope right now is negative 3. The slope perpendicular to negative 3 would be opposite reciprocal. So you want to change the sign. So you want to it wants to become positive, okay? And then reciprocal, flip the fraction. So this is actually 1 over 3. So your answer should be m is equal to 1 over 3. Okay? Again, same idea here. Opposite reciprocal. As of right now, the slope is 3 over 2. Opposite meaning, okay, now it's going to be negative, and then reciprocal meaning you want to flip the fraction, so that's going to end up being negative 2 over 3. So this is your slope for letter B, okay? What you're about to get next is your practice problems, but again, we'll go through this a bit more when we get to class next week, okay? Alright, so to finish off this video, I want you to do the following problems. I want you to do number 1 and number 2 to the best of your abilities, okay? Look back on this video, see what you learned, see if you can actually do these yourself. But with that, I'll see you this week, okay? So just go ahead and submit these on MyDGO. Once you've completed these practice problems, and you're good to go. Alright, I'll see you guys next week.